Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, friends. And if you would notice, I've got three wishes here: the good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And that is because of the obvious reason of the flat world we all are living in. We have people joining us from US, we have people joining us from Europe, people joining us from India, and we even have the panel that is from US, from Europe, and from India. So for that, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My friends, I'm Rajiv Paul. I'm the Executive VP for Sales and Delivery with Embarking on Voyage, or EOV. And in addition to that, I also wear another hat, which is as an influencer, moderator, and anchor for various live shows. So I'm going to combine the two together. And thank you, EOV, for trusting in me to bring this particular live show for all of you guys. And today we plan to discuss offshore software development and why does it fail, what are the success factors, etc. And before I deep dive into the particular topic and start talking with our esteemed guests today, I just want to introduce EOV, Embarking on Voyage, our company. EOV Digital is a product and data engineering services company. It's based out of Pune, India. The core leadership that we have brings 3 decades of software development and delivery experience to you guys. The four strong pillars of EOV are product engineering, application modernization, user experience design, and data engineering. We are working as extended development partner for a number of companies, and 70% of the organizations that we are working on are based in US, Europe, and UK. And with that as a background of EOV, I just wanted to give you a very quick background about myself. I have been working or been exposed to so-called outsourcing and then moving to offshoring since late 90s, early 2000s when it was just picking up. And I worked with an organization called Accenture, one of the top management consulting companies. And I got to see how the offshoring model has matured over times. It was brought in as a talent uh, segmentation for cost management, looking at the flat world that we were getting into and utilizing the overall time differences across the globe and utilizing the 24 by 7 clock to deliver solutions. But over time, we have seen offshoring develop and get mature with different tools, methodologies coming together, the understanding of the delivery, and the whole model of not only offshore, it's like for US, it's near shore and offshore and far shore coming together. But even after the technologies have matured, the methodologies have improved, the tools have come through, there still remains some skepticism about offshoring, letting that development baby go away from our hands, from our organization. The skepticism exists about how does it work? Does it really bring the cost benefit that we talk about? Does it really bring the 24 by 7 optimization that we talk about? And there's a lot of discussion about offshore development failing as such. And there are pros and cons to it. And to discuss all of that, today we have with us Michael. He's joining us from Belgium. Hi, Michael. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Michael is the Chief Technology Officer with Empress. And as Michael would say, and as his LinkedIn would describe him, he's a die-hard developer, and he loves to get under the sheets and see what's going on in the code. And I think that what makes one of the best technology officers, because they really know how the things are built up, and they can keep a 5,000 feet view as well as deep dive right to the ground level and see how to improve and optimize the solution. And in addition to that, we have Dinesh. Dinesh is joining us from Pune. He's the chief delivery officer with EOV. So Dinesh, welcome to the panel.
Hi, Raju. Thank you.
So before I deep dive, Michael, I would like to ask you. I know we have been talking about offshoring and things like that, and you had mentioned about skepticism about not only offshoring but also letting the code development go to someone else within even the same global country as such. So tell me about why do you think that, and have you even thought about experimenting with going it away, taking it away from your organization?
Well, yeah, we have thought about it, but we decided in the beginning that it wasn't uh, a good idea to do that right away. So when you talk about offshoring, um, I know as an organization or a company, you also have to think about the state that your company is in and what you want to achieve. So for me, like for instance, when you build a startup and you want to create your first MVP, that would be like a stage where it would be a good idea, of course, to outsource the development work if you're not technically founded and you need to hire people. It might indeed be a wise decision to go offshoring the development work. But like when you're in a later stage that you have already have your MVP prepared and you're ready to go to market, then it might be a wiser decision to keep everything in the house and start to build your own team first uh, before, yeah, going offshore with the project.
Dinesh, I would ask you a quick question based on what Michael was saying. What would you recommend? When does organization or when should the organization start thinking about either outsourcing or offshoring?
I think I agree with the Michael that as soon as the product vision is in place, we normally develop one first MVP or prototyping, what we say, and once we get the confidence about that product, and then we want to scale up to the next level. As soon as we start scaling up, it attracts a lot of challenges. First challenge is about resource identification. Second challenge is about cost, and these two things can be taken care if you decide to make a offshore partner who can help you with this by arranging the right resources, the right skill set, with the right cost, and that will help you to boost up to the next level. So definitely from startup or SMB point of view, definitely this can be a good stage to start, but there will be different stages. Like organizations are different stages. Some organization might have established product, so they are more in comfort zone, that they can start the offshore operations as soon as their product is stable, and still they want to enhance new features. So as soon as this thought about enhancing new features, not asking offshore team to develop a core component, they can keep the core component, but they can to build a confidence, they can start with the peripheral development, so that can be outsourced to them. And once they consider themselves as a part, the offshore team as a part of their core development team, then it will create very win-win situation for the offshore as well as the definitely entrepreneurs want their product to be successful. Everyone will be expecting that, and if it works as a one team, the success will come. So the answer to question, it lies with the at various stages. Like if your company is in the startup mode, then maybe once prototype is ready, because still startup has a challenge about cost, so definitely we can help you there, and normally offshore development can help you there. But also if company is established, they are in very good stage to start that offshore development. So
No, Michael, do you agree with that, or do you think there is a particular phase in software development cycle where where the organization should start thinking or exploring the offshoring options?
Hmm. Well, I think it depends on the product or the company's mindset. I think if it's a product that you want to continue on developing, I think you cannot just outsource the whole thing uh, or do the offshoring. Um, but I think if it's like more in a maintenance mode, then it might be indeed a good decision to say, okay, we're not going to continue to develop it in house. We're just going to outsource it. Um, but yeah, that I think it depends a lot on the situation.
Yep. So, because when we talk about offshoring, right, and when we talk about the product development as such, I think you guys will agree with me that it's not only just about developing a product, which is the software development cycle,
Mhm.
application development cycle. It's also post that, as Michael, you said, going into the application support side of the picture, as well as to the technology side of the picture, wherever all the cloud computing and servers and supports and things like that are coming up. And the the outsourcing world uses three big terminologies there. One is AO, which is application outsourcing. One is BPO, which is the business process outsourcing, and then ITO, which is the IT outsourcing, right? And each of those components, based on the organization and their comfort level, they may outsource certain of those components off for the offshoring things. And Michael, as you said, for the application support as such, that can be seen as one of the easier path as such,
Hmm.
because your mindset for developing the product is completed, and now you're ready
Indeed.
to move that out to the support. And you think with the properly provided spec packages, you should be able to get the right resources at the right cost and the timeline to support that thing. Do you agree with that, Michael?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's correct.
So would you feel comfortable at that stage of the things to offshore your product as such to any offshore companies?
I probably would, because I think that um, the risks are not that high anymore. If anything would go wrong in the partnership, that's of course a whole other side. You still need to make sure that the partnership goes quite smooth, that everybody understands each other, that you're on the same page and on the same level. Um, but I think in that level, that yeah, the risks are less, I would say.
So
Uh,
Dinesh, before we deep dive, I think it will be good if you can help us set the context for number of listeners about what really is the offshore model before we even deep dive into the success and failures of it.
Definitely. I mean, let's start with the basics. Why we need offshore development? Okay, as already partial points are covered. So offshore development is not about only cost saving. Like it is more about the like building a best quality products and then faster and predictable deliveries. Because normally what happens to scale up and scale down, definitely there will be some challenges, but with this expertise in the various countries, they have achieved, like India, Vietnam or Russia, they have achieved that expertise where they can easily scale up with the new technologies are coming really faster, and they are gets adapted with the very good educated resources also available. So that is one thing. The second thing is we have to like if you want to build try something new technologies, definitely this can be a place where you can try, and it reduces the risk of the cost, because cost and maintenance, as already you covered that maintenance right now, initially we used to host it ourselves everything, but because of now Azure and all cloud computing, everything is moved to the cloud. So it doesn't matter whether that services are provided in local area in the uh, that country, or it is supported in the offshore countries, doesn't matter, because data is always safe and it is stored in the respective countries only as per the laws. So definitely I'll say that offshore development will help you in that case. So I hope I answered the question, Rajiv.
Okay. So
One question, one point only I will add to Michael, that Michael, things works very well when the product vision, like normally the person who visualize the product and he write down the product, he does the whiteboard discussion, so he has a product vision in his mind. So
Mhm.
once that product vision is get passed through with the right channel to the right people or development team, then you'll have better results. It can happen offshore, it can happen on site also, both. So that is what was the challenge, is right passing the right vision, product vision will definitely help you to make it more successful and achieving the same results with the minimal resources and with minimal efforts. You can achieve the same things. Yeah, sorry, Rajiv. Yeah, right.
so would you say that the basic topic, right, why offshore development fail? Do you
Yes.
think that is one of the key reasons that offshore software development fails?
Definitely. I think what happen normally, there is always a product vision in someone heads. So unless somebody puts the efforts and put it right down in the words, or put it in the some diagrams and communicate effectively with the other person who is either developing on site or offshore. If it is not communicating very well, definitely the it happens that product development, offshore development is going to fail. That is first reason. uh, Documentation is not in place, vision is not transferred enough, Then third is mostly a lack of communication. I mean, I will come to that point also. The communication, because we passing a vision, the product vision to the team is part of the communication. If that communication happens at each and every stage, if you don't communicate each and every stage, definitely there will be gaps between expectations and results.
Do you agree with that, Michael?
Yeah, of course I do. And I think it could be that the main reason for that is just because I think offshoring is often seen as a cost effective measure.
Okay.
When people want to outsource stuff offshore, they immediately think, okay, this is going to be more cost effective to do so.
Okay.
And because of that, I also think that they don't want to spend enough time on the project themselves or assign someone internally to lead the project. And I think there is a discrepancy between how you would manage a project internally and if you would offshore it, um, because the mindset is different. If you go into it with a mindset of, okay, I just want to cut costs, then you know that you won't assign enough people internally to do, like, for instance, the necessary communication and work. So
Yeah, I agree with that because one of the key reasons when I think about offshore development failing is the mindset, as Michael said, right? Because if you're going to have a mindset of a partner coming in to be going step by step towards your success and buys into your vision, it's easier. It's irrespective if two organization. If suppose EOV comes in, Michael, and partners with you or whoever else they're going to partner with. And we come with a mindset that even if we had to develop that product our own, like not for you, but for ourselves, and how would we go about doing it? If we would understand every aspect of that product development. If we do, then that communication between your organization and our organization becomes more effective because you're not trying to educate us on every step of the way, every step of your vision, because we are buying into your vision and you're walking a path. And then those projects tend to become more successful because it's not just your development partner, it's your business partner who's working with you. But when we start thinking about just pure augmentation of resources of a certain skill sets, then it becomes a little challenging because you're adding a little bit more overhead to your existing life cycle of documenting and sharing that documentation and explaining to the augmented resource on what has to be done. And when that knowledge stops at a certain time, you start getting diminishing return on that offshoring project. Thoughts about that? Do you agree, disagree? Good.
well, I think I mostly agree, but I think if I can ask a question,
Yeah, absolutely. That's the whole
um,
purpose.
Okay.
why do you explicitly call it offshoring? Because, like, the terminology offshoring has, like, a negative connotation to it, I think. If you
Okay.
think, like, you have offshoring in technology, but if you, like, think offshore banking, that has a negative annotation. If you think
Okay.
about offshore development, you think about projects that fail. And specifically in these days and ages, where we have had the pandemic, where everybody starts to work remote, um, and if you want to outsource things, yeah, you don't really talk about offshoring. You just say you
Correct.
going to externalize it or going to let some remote worker work on it. So yeah, perhaps it's also a little bit in the terminology of offshoring, that might be, yeah, setting
Yeah.
a specific mindset to it before you even start with the project. So
Right.
perhaps we should think about stop using the terminology of offshoring and use something else that's a little bit more positive.
Good.
Exactly. I think
That's
very excellent point, Michael. And I think just going back to my experiences of the old days when the outsourcing, offshoring were picking up, kind of thing, it took us a little time. The overall industry took some time to
correct.
even start talking beyond the word outsourcing and start including the terminology offshoring because
Yeah.
the organizations were outsourcing that because definition of outsourcing was very plain and basic about I want to do certain work and I have lack of certain capabilities, resources, or whatever, and I'm going to give this work to XYZ, which is outside my organization, and therefore I'm calling it outsourcing because I'm giving it to someone else the thing. And that's where the whole concept of outsourcing started coming in, giving it to the people who have the right skill sets to deliver the right knowledge back to our organization. And uh, and outsourcing was words were used for everything, not only just IT. It can be for finance, accounting, billing, any kind of thing, right? And then what started happening was the outsourcing that was happening within the country boundaries as such. Once the boundary of the organization crossed and it started crossing the boundaries of the globally across the countries, the word offshoring started coming in because you are shoring it outside the particular global boundaries. So outsourcing word started getting into the outsourcing and offshoring as such, outsourcing within the country or outsourcing outside the country. And I agree with you. I think the maturity of this cycles will continue to grow where with the whole remote world coming together and the pandemic teaching us how to work remotely, the word offshoring will also start going away, and it will be basically saying doesn't matter which location you are from. We want to get XYZ work done by the XYZ skill sets people in XYZ time and deliver the solution irrespective of where you're sitting, because a Pune based company of EOV may be having a resource sitting in New York delivering the
Right.
solution for Belgium for Michael's organization. So where do you define the offshoring? Right here, right?
Indeed.
So I agree with you, and I think Michael, in the near future, if the word offshoring does go away and the word like remote computing or remote working and things like that
Remote
comes
development.
in, we should take some credit for introducing that term in our show today.
Right.
So, quick question, Dinesh.
Yeah.
We have talked about challenges of outsourcing, offshoring, remote working, whatever we call it.
Right.
How do you convince someone like Michael or any other
Right.
skeptics out there who are thinking that I want to explore it, but they are skeptic about exploring it? How do you make them feel comfortable to go about working with them as an offshore remote partners?
Definitely. Like, let's call it instead of offshore or on-site. Let can we call it like your extended partner,
Yeah.
right?
I like
Extended
that. I
development
like that.
partner. Okay. So normally, what happen when we are approaching to any extended development partner? So there it has two sides. First side is what you should look for, and then that partner should what he's supposed to do. So both things I think I'll try to cover is first is it's a when you're looking for extended development partner, definitely there has to be mindset. What you already said. First step is the mindset that is cost is not the only thing. My priority should not be cost. My priority should be the product vision and quality, which is going to be delivered to the my customers. So that should be the right mindset. I'll say that. Then there should be checklist. Okay, so checklist which will tell us that do have a right kind of resources. Okay, my extended development partner, do they he has a right skill set? Does he has a right kind of people who can deliver? If it is a product development, do they have any product development experience? Okay, then third thing is how many of them what is their iteration rate, because iteration rate is playing very important role nowadays. Even in India, even in Russia, like IT companies facing a lot of challenges because of iteration. So do what is their employee iteration, right? Then the one more point is most important is also pricing. Still, I will say that pricing structure, and then offshore engineering teams how culture. Because now what happened if there is a cultural difference and if there is a time difference, there definitely there will be challenges. And if it is, then how we are going to overcome it. But in last, I mean, when I landed first time in USA in 1999, I saw a huge cultural difference in India and USA. But when we go now, there is no difference at all. So, at least from India point of view, I can say that cultural differences has come down drastically. And this is the first thing you should have checklist in place before approaching to the vendor. Then once you approach the vendors, they can definitely it should be win-win situation, and then you guys both have equal partnerships and equal responsibilities. It's not like that somebody is giving something and they are not able to cope up with that. So collaboration methodology you need to finalize. The most important point in software technology is technology stack finalization. So when we started our conversation, we discussed about technology. So you have a right kind of technology? The extended development partner is providing that, whether stack is in place, and if not, whether they are willing to do that for you. And if you normally in product development, resource retention is the biggest challenge, because product is not developed with only technology awareness or technology knowledge. Product is developed with the domain knowledge. So they acquire, their development team acquires that knowledge. Okay. So technology decision plays very role, and then positive approach to the challenges. Definitely, if you are doing anything new thing, there'll be challenges. So there'll be challenges about communication. There'll be challenges about finalizing deliveries, timelines, agile methodologies, sprint planning. So we should be positive for that from the vendor, from the uh, outsourcing from the outsourcing point of view. But from now, from the as an offshore development team or extended development team, I have also have some suggestions for them, that they should be when they are developing anything, they should, their product vision should be aligned with the what is required. That is, and then they should put the shoes of customer. Okay, what he is facing, what is his requirement, what are the challenges, what he is expecting, what is expected by him and by his customers. So once this is in place, then there is a right mindset for the extended development partner also. And then if they have right resources, right skill set, definitely then only leftover part is processes and then management. Once that is done, definitely we can deliver. So that summarize both parties actually. They
Okay.
have equal responsibilities.
So quickly, Colin's question popped up, I think, and I read through it briefly. And Colin had said that the management of the offshore team is super key to success. I typically
Agree.
ensure there is a person onshore who can be the PM account manager to ensure solid communication. I 100% agree with that statement, and I will also be a devil's advocate to that particular statement, given the new paradigm of our working environment due to pandemic and the remote working arena, right? Because earlier than that, we were so used to, and Michael, please let me know if you agree or disagree, that we were so used to working in an environment where we would be seeing the person in front of us. We
Mhm.
felt comfortable walking up to a cubicle and immediately discussing the problem. Knocking at someone's door and say, "Hey, I just looked at this code and such line. Let's brainstorm about it, why such and such thing is happening." And we felt we could resolve the problem much faster that way. But now with the remote thing, trying to find out the right time, reaching out to the person, being on the phone, not sure about how clear that communication is, sharing the screen, how clear that communication is. So it has created challenges as well as it has created the new ways of facilitation. So that account management person who understands both sides of the picture is critical to communicate. But at the same time, where does the account manager sit? Is he also remotely sitting somewhere and trying to manage remotely? So multiple questions here, Michael. Do you think the remote work environment really works? And the kind of challenges it presents, and how different it is if you had the person in front of you to resolve the problem?
Well, yeah, I'm pretty pro when it comes to remote working. I would say, but it comes definitely with challenges, and I think, yeah, you can see it with offshore development as well. Communication is key, and even though that we communicate a lot during the day, I think as humans we don't communicate always that well as we think we do. Um, so of course, when a person is right in front of you, face to face, it's always easier to communicate just for the fact that you can read those little signs on the face, how a person interact with you, so you can interact with them, and you can read all the little signs, which makes it a lot tougher doing it digitally, I think. Okay, now we can do calls with the camera and all of that, but if you communicate a lot by mail or in a written way, that becomes a lot harder to interpret how someone wants to cross a certain specific message, if something is urgent or not. It's hard to define it if it's written, then while the person is right in front of you, that you can read by the body language if he has a quick or urgent thing that needs to be called out. So yeah, communication is key, I think, and that could perhaps also be the reason why a lot of external projects fail. Just because we think that we communicate very well doesn't mean that it is that way. Um, and it has indeed also to do a lot with the expectations. If you don't communicate well enough, your expectations are perhaps here, while the client's expectations are way up there. So that's something that you really need to align through communication.
Exactly. Exactly. I agree 100% with that. And I think uh, some of the challenges, as even Nick is saying here about the communication overhead, right?
Yep.
The And as I was saying, the offshore outsourcing development partner, whatever these models are, have evolved and become more and more mature as the time has gone by. Tools and methodologies, of course, are developing to support this. And that methodology, the communication becomes the part of the methodology, though it is a little bit of an overhead to start with. But over the long term, if you see this development partner that you have to be working with you
Correct.
over a number of years, right? So the investment of few months into developing those communication procedures as such, the standard operating procedures to be shared, becomes very beneficial. And now what I'm seeing is even the organization who are not even outsourcing or getting development partner, they're developing these standard operating procedures within organization because many of the people are working remotely,
Correct.
and those structures are put in place. And then bringing in the people into the office few days a week or a few days in 2 weeks to resolve the things and then go back remotely. And we should learn how we can utilize that learning onto the learnings of offshoring projects or development partner projects and bring success to the things which we think are the reason for failures. And Michael, quick question for you. Have you guys been looking at the development partners? Have you adopted the development partners in your projects in the past or now?
Now, currently not. Now we try to do it internally since we want to grow the project. So we want to make sure that, yeah, the initial IP, I will call it, remains in house in the company. Um, because that's also, of course, a risk if you outsource the development. You're actually training an external development team and introducing them into, yeah, specific business requirements or something like that. So we want to make sure that our internal team is first strong enough, before we want to think about, yeah, adding an external team to the company.
Right. And Nalzina was saying about the alignment of vision and strategy with the team. And I 100% agree, Nalzina, about that because, and that's what we were talking, and that's what Dinesh was also saying about the development partner, right? Your alignment with the
Right.
partner. They buy into your vision and strategy and they become part of your team, though they're not actually your organization, but they see themselves as your organization. And Michael, going back to you on the similar, I'm going to combine this Naldino's
Mhm.
comment and your feedback there together because you said it rightly because there's a lot of skepticism about moving the things outside the wall, and it's your product, it's your vision. You want to make sure you have the right control over it. But uh, as your product matures over time,
Mhm.
uh, and you do find the partner who is aligned with your thinking, is you have the trust of that partner, right? They are as much as your employee, that when you hire an employee, they come in with a similar kind of a mindset, and your partner comes in with the same mindset, would you be open to be looking at those development partners if they were just seen an extension of your organization arm?
Well, yeah, of course, but I wouldn't see them then as an extension. I would see them as really part of the team. I think that's the most important thing. Um, if you want to go through with adding an external partner to the team or to the company, then you really must make sure that they are part of it and not just an external group that does similar work that you do internally.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, I first believe that you must really shape up your internal company first and make sure that you strengthen the internal company before you add an external partner to the team. Because I know if you like with employees on the payroll, you can have the same issue. Like, yeah, when you hire someone, yeah, it can be that they leave within a
Yeah.
year or a
Yeah.
year or two. So that's also a risk that you take. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
I
it's
think
it's
that,
becoming it's becoming harder and harder to choose what to do if you want to build an internal team or if you want to, yeah, use
yeah,
an
and that
external
nails down
partner.
the question, right? Because the question on the table, offshore software development failing, why does it fail? And I personally think that many a times where people have seen that fail, because many projects have seen that to be very successful, whereas few people also have seen that to fail. And the two key reasons I've always seen that is failing is first the offshore outsource, whatever development partners are there, they're not they're not becoming the part and parcel of your team. They're seeing themselves as a distinct entity coming
Correct.
in. And when that happens, they're basically saying, okay, you tell me what to do and I'll do it for you. And if you don't tell me anything, I'm just sitting idle and twiddling my thumb. And that may frustrate you a lot because you'll say, I'm not going to babysit you all the time. I've got work to do. And therefore, you'll cut off with that person and you'll classify that project as a failed offshoring model project as such. Or secondly, when you are not able to communicate remotely with those people effectively, or they're waiting for instructions again and again and they're not bought into your vision, again back to the same thing, because you're spending so much overhead on them that you'll just cut it off and say, hands up, I'm not I'm not dealing with you guys anymore, and I'm classifying this project as a failed offshore project or outsourced project. But if we can find people who are become parts and parcel of your skin of your organization, right? You cannot even differentiate. People walking the corridor cannot even differentiate if the person A came from your organization and person B came from EOV. They're part and parcel, they're bought into your vision, they're talking your language, they're walking the path. But at the same time, you have an option that once a certain cycle comes through, you're able to say, okay, we are done with this project and this arrangement and we are moving on. And then you will say, this project was extremely successful and this partnership was extremely successful. So I really think, and Dinesh, I'll let you add that offshoring models fail because of the number of things earlier people also said: communication, not buying into the vision and strategy, not becoming the part and parcel of your team, not feeling as you feeling them to be part and
Lack of
parcel of your
ownership.
team, right? But
Yeah.
once we bring in the partner who buys into you, becomes part of you, and your success is as much their success, this whole model should be able to work very successfully.
Definitely. Definitely, Rajiv, I think I agree with you. I think you covered this very nicely. One thing is like, we'll add that what Nick has also mentioned in his comment that how to mitigate the risk also. Like there is always a execution risk, how we are going to mitigate it. So he proposed to have a test-driven approach. So that is also one of the good suggestion. Normally, it comes from the client as well as it comes from the team also. So that will also help. And it always said that one size doesn't fit for all solutions. So you have to be as a you should be on the always on the toes as a service provider. You should always be innovative and provide a right kind of solutions at the right time to the entrepreneurs like Michael or who are asking for that help. to develop it. So if you are on the toes and if you are align your visions or your thought process and if you are innovative enough, definitely it can be a win-win situation for for both sides of world.
So, with that, I would like to at least summarize that the question about why offshore software development fail, uh, they do fail. There are many that are successful, and it all comes down to how we really shape this thing up as leaders, how we organize our projects, how we train our people, and get it to move forward and gain that confidence. And I think, Michael, we will need to work the people. Who have got either burnt or bad experiences in this world to help them align to the good experiences, and also learn from those experiences to fix those problems as they come along. So I would like to open up for question if anyone has any for next few minutes. But in the meantime, while the questions are popping up, as all of you would know, that Embarking on Voyage is one of those organizations that tends to work with you as your development partner, be aligned with your vision, come in and more focused as partner rather than as an augmented resource organization. So, if you would have any questions or need any information, please reach out to us through a couple of emails: info at embarkingonvoyage.com or at sales at embarkingonvoyage.com. And with that, I'll open up for questions, and any one of us can come take those questions as they come up. Colin says, I think it now comes down to managing communication across time zones. And if this can be managed offshore, that great. Otherwise, it's key someone is always available during NA business hours. That is true, Colin. And I think with the people in India, at least my experience sitting in Washington, D.C., here in the US, is
Correct.
folks in India don't tend to sleep, I think.
Okay,
Because
Raju.
at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, when I'm almost ready to think like I want to wrap up the day and I send out a problem, there's someone ready to immediately reply back to me saying, okay, what do you want me to work on? It's like, oh my God, did I just suddenly wake someone up and get all the curse from their family for doing that?
Correct.
Well, I think one possible solution might be if you want to work with an external partner, that you perhaps at least have a few hours of overlaps in the time zone where you work in. So
Correct.
this way, you don't need to worry too much about having asynchronous communication all the time. So a small overlap, I think, is a good thing to have.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And
Absolutely.
Michael, usually on the projects we have seen people set up their calendars and the timelines accordingly, and they right from the start of the project they know exactly what the overlaps look like, and managing those communication and
Mhm.
expectations so that everyone is on the same page.
Yeah.
Correct.
And when we heard the earlier comment about project management and facilitation, that is a key because that person becomes the kind of a handshaker between the two organizations to make sure those alignments are done properly.
Correct. I will also add that if you have a right kind of tool set in place, we agreed by the both sides, definitely like one of the example is Jira or Skype or some where you can track the efforts, you can track the productivity, you can track the development status, and you can also track if there is any blocks because of agile now things become so fast that like I agree with Michael. If there is a overlapping, then we can conduct a like 10 to 15 minutes stand up, and definitely it will save 24 hours of time for the team if you take the right decision at the right time. So that's part of the project management. That's why I added Rajiv, and right kind of tool set definitely will reduce this communication gap. What I see.
Yeah, tools and methodologies play a big part in the success of
Mhm.
these
Correct.
projects. So, with that, I would like to open up the floor for Michael for any closing comments, any closing thoughts on today's discussion, and any steering away from wherever your skepticism lies till the practical world helps.
Well, I think first thing, as I mentioned before, is stop using the word offshoring.
Yeah, we'll do
Might
that.
make things make it more positive for people to think about. And then secondly, yeah, I think yeah, indeed, communication is key, as well as having the same vision or mindset in how you start with the project or the collaboration with each other. I think that's one of the most important things, and it's not always easy when you need to find a partner to align with to
Agree.
make sure that you're on the same page. Because yeah, once you start the project, you're already ongoing, and then switching partners can be really hard or tough.
Makes sense. Yep, absolutely.
Definitely.
Dinesh?
I'll just add one point here that what Michael said that definitely finding the right partner is the biggest challenge, and it's like a finding your life partner. If you are developing a product, definitely it's not date, it's marriage. So there is difference
Yep.
between date and marriage, right? And once you start finding a development partner in outside your country, definitely there will be challenges. But if you're looking for the right kind of partner with the what checklist and other things, I think you'll able to definitely you'll able to find the right partner to do the software development. And I'll highlight that EOV is also one of the partner in that list. So definitely we are there to support you, everyone. And I saw a lot of questions today and suggestions. Definitely we'll consider this as a very positive feedback, and we'll also internally improve based on your feedback. So thank you guys who has commented on this and given a very good suggestion. Thank you, Michael. Definitely it will help you long run in to EOE, because EOE is not looking for only as a service provider company. No, that's why the conversation that it should be an extended development partner for the person who is has his dream to make the product successful.
And on a closing, I would like to thank a few of the people from EOV. Isprita, who has been helping us with setting up this LinkedIn Live. Thank you so much. She's the head of marketing with EOV. So I really appreciate all the help that she has been doing. She has been having some health issues. And with that, also, she has been working late nights.
Correct.
A very typical example of hardworking partner for EOV. So thank you so much. And Abhi, thank you so much as the CEO of the organization for setting up this thought. And on the record, if in the future people start talking about development partners or extended development software partners, it's coming out from this particular LinkedIn Live, and we are going getting rid of the words like offshoring. And Michael will see how far that traction goes.
Indeed. Let's hope it goes far.
So, with that, thank you so much. Thanks everyone who joined us in this LinkedIn live show done by EOV, Embarking on Voyage. Hope to see you guys in a few more weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. The next topic on the EOV discussions, LinkedIn live discussion. Until then, see you.
See you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.